This beautiful old railroad was first built back in 1869. That makes us 152 years old. Nope, this is not the original crew. Half those people are dead. The railroad was wholly owned by the Bank of California, and by the time they got around to building it, they had already foreclosed or repossessed some of the bigger mines up here, and they wanted to find an inexpensive way to get their newfound ore down to the Carson River Canyon, where, of course, they already owned the large hydraulic stamp or reduction mills. They weren't very good neighbors, those boys at the bank, and they weren't really well liked. After looking at me right now, I am pointing madly off to my left. And we're going to call that. All right, any of you that might be local know we were already celebrating our annual wildfire festivities. A couple of weeks ago, we had a big fire over in Jacks Valley, and about a week and a half ago, we tried to bring down Pleasant Valley. About a week ago, we had a fire over here in Mason Valley. I don't know what it is with Pleasant Valley. Last summer, for a couple of weekends, it was so smoky you could just barely make out those ridges right across it. But a lady saw that thing right up on the top of that hill between those two great big juniper trees and asked me if that was a cross. And I said, yes it is. It's one of those religious symbols. And then through all the smoke and haze, she saw that next great big hole up there, almost to the top of the last. She asked me if that too was a religious symbol. I said, no. That is a Verizon tower, and Sprint doesn't think there's anything religious about it at all. Right, we were going back up about probably at least twice as fast as we could. Portion of our track. We have 22 miles of track all told. This is without a doubt the steepest. We're really happy to be once again using our beautiful steam locomotive at number 29. We got her back about 3 weeks ago, I guess. She was exhausted. She had been starring in a Martin Scorsese film in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Now there's a couple of the people that we're going to recognize in that film. One will be Leonardo DiCaprio, and the other will be Robert De Niro, but we all know the stars is 29. Well, no sooner had our Pullmans and our steam locomotive gotten to Pawhuska, Hollywood came along and painted them all a hideous green color. Not this beautiful gold victory yellow that we had, emerald green. Well, when we got the steam locomotive back, we immediately got rid of all of that stuff. So now, once again, you could proudly see the name Robert Gray painted on the cab. It was Bob's dream to somehow resurrect this railroad. He actually rode on the very last revenue train between Carson City and Virginia City in April of 1938. Well, he came up here and purchased as much old equipment as he thought he could maybe salvage. And then, after an awful lot of hard work, just in time for America's bicentennial birthday in 1976, he once again successfully had the trains run in between these two Comstock cities. And we're very happy to announce that we are now beginning our 46th consecutive year. And the only way we can do that is because of the support from people just like you, and we really do appreciate it. We sincerely do. Now, the only good thing about that pandemic last year is right here, I would say, if you had a mask, make sure you have it on now. Maybe if you don't have a mask, pull your t-shirt up, or maybe put your hat over. You'll see why in just a minute. drill right off, doesn't it? Right over here, very close to the tracks, you see those granite foundation stones. That's where that East Yellow Jacket shaft was. On the other side of the tracks right here, this is our best solution for that beautiful Catholic church, St. Mary's in the Mountains. On the other side of the locomotive, about a third of the way up Sun Hill, that big Victorian-style building is the Fourth Ward School, and it was one of the finest of the Old West, and the very first one to have indoor plumbing. Now, that Catholic church played a very pivotal role in the history of Virginia City. You know, fires were very common. But the one that they all talk about is from October of 1875, and they still call that the Great Fire because it burned 90% of Virginia City and instantly left 10,000 people homeless and jobless. It started one morning way out of the north end of town between two small buildings, and then high winds brought it out this way very, very quickly. Right when it got to where that big, beautiful church is, the city fathers came out and they begged and pleaded with Bishop Patrick Minogue to allow him to use that church as a fire break. And he said, okay. So the church was destroyed, but it stopped the fire dead in its tracks. Because of all the wealth that was up here, however, within 1 year's time, all of those homes and businesses and that beautiful old church were fully restored. Now, they welcome anybody to come in and visit that church. They don't care what your faith is or your denomination. I could also give you a little more incentive if you want. They sell wine in the basement. We had more millionaires living up here at that time than any other city on earth. We had 193 of them. Well, you're talking the financial center of the entire Western world right here. Now, if you look off to the east, you're going to see some grandstands and a great big fenced arena over there. I'm so happy to tell you that finally, once again this summer, we're going to be able to have our world-famous camel races. Now, if you don't own a camel, that's perfectly all right. You can bring your llama or your ostrich. Every year we have a couple of zebras. 3 years ago, we had some emus up here racing. You ever seen an emu run? You know what else I can promise you? There is never a shortage of jackasses right there. Every single year. Now just a minute, once we get past the little trestle here, look back out there to the east. You're going to see a kind of a cone-shaped mountain, and that is called Sugarloaf, and that begins literally a 100-mile unobstructed view to the east. If you got the time, go back uptown, get a nice cold beverage, sit down and just look at how spectacular that is. That's pretty amazing. Now just a minute, right up behind us here, once we get past these little apartments, you're going to be able to see the backside of the beautiful Mackey Mansion. If you don't have time to take the tour, at least drive by and see just how elegant and opulent it was. That's what $150,000 would buy you back in the mid-1870s. They have a big, beautiful white gazebo, and they have a large outdoor dance floor. It's a real popular place for weddings and receptions and that kind of stuff. Last week we had 2 different wedding parties riding with us, and as you might imagine, those are always an awful lot of fun. Well, we're almost back to our depot. A few things we want you to keep in mind while you're getting off the train. No matter what your final destination is today, please travel safely so you can come back and see us. We always enjoy that. Number 2, whatever you may have done or whatever you may still be doing to keep us all safe and healthy, Thank you very much. We don't ever want to have another year like that. Lastly, when you get home, if you go on Facebook and like us,